Every developer dreams of making it rich quick, but in today's market it's harder than ever to make a killing from property. But it is still possible. The catch is it's often the really difficult developments that make the most money. So the bigger the gamble, the greater the potential profit. If you want to make a killing out of property, then sometimes you have to stick your neck right on the line and take on a very risky development. And that's exactly what Dave Hearn and Nick Holmes are doing in Dunstable, 30 miles north of London. And what Mark and Tammy Howard are doing in Harloxton, Lincolnshire, with challenging Grade 2 listed buildings that most people would run a mile from. Listed buildings can make tricky developments. There's loads of red tape and your budget can spiral. So it's more important than ever to know what you're getting yourself into. But Mark and Tammy Howard simply don't.
What we know about listed buildings we could write on the back of a postage stamp.
Yeah. So, I guess we're going to learn the hard way.
But that could be a lot harder than Mark and Tammy think. They've just spent £205,000 on this, an old Victorian bakehouse in Harloxton. It needs a huge amount of work doing to it. It needs replumbing and rewiring, and the first floor is collapsing, so many of the timbers need replacing. Worst of all, there's an old bakery with an industrial oven so enormous that it takes up this entire part of the building. It's in a bit of a state, this house, though.
I think that's being quite complimentary.
Yes. Why did you buy it?
Mark doesn't know.
Well, it seemed like a good idea at the time.
Yeah.
But, no, every time I'm away from the property, I'm very excited about it. I can visualise what it's going to be like. Every time I come back to the property, I have buyer's remorse. I'm panicking. I'm thinking, what the hell have we done? So time will tell whether this was a good decision or not.
There's no going back now, so Mark and Tammy need to make the most of their investment, and they're going to need their wits about them to turn this huge old rambling house into an appealing family home. This is a 2-storey semi-detached property. Upstairs there are 5 bedrooms and 1 family bathroom. Downstairs the layout is very sprawling, with a lounge leading through to a kitchen, dining room, utility and WC. And across the hall there's the old bakery with its huge industrial oven that takes up a whole room by itself. Mark and Tammy want to put a new kitchen in the bakery and demolish the entire oven building to make way for an adjoining dining area. And then knock the old kitchen through to the lounge to create one large living room. But it's that huge bakery oven that's going to be their biggest challenge. Now this is the heart of it, isn't it? So
Yep.
The old ovens.
Yep.
And then this is where the flour was?
Yeah, so they used to take the flour upstairs, store it upstairs, and then as they needed it, just drop it through the trapdoor in here.
Cool. Knead it up, pop it in. Gosh, it's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, hopefully it's not too fantastic, though, because we want to get rid of that. So again, with the planning, we need permission to remove it.
Absolutely.
So your enthusiasm for it worries me
Doesn't
slightly.
help.
Yeah. If you can't move the oven, I mean, you're pretty scuppered, aren't you?
It's critical. It's the biggest gamble we've got with the whole thing.
When you bought the property, you presumed you could just move it, did you?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, we walked in and it wasn't great. I mean, we just walked in and thought, well, that can go, and carried on.
I can't see how we're going to sell the place with a huge, great oven, because I can't see that's on the top of people's shopping lists. I'd like a big baker's oven in my kitchen.
It is an old bakehouse, and the oven is integral to its historic importance. I think there is a good chance you'll have to keep it, though.
That's not good news.
Yeah, that's not good news.
In terms of the strategy with the Conservation Officer, I think as this is so important, getting rid of this oven, you want to try and ask for as little else as you possibly can, in the hope that you get away with taking that out. So if there's not a really good reason to make any other major alterations, they should be shelved. And I think that includes their plan to knock the wall down between the living room and the existing kitchen at the other end of the house. I'll tell you why, because the ceilings are very low, and when the ceilings are very low, making the room bigger with low ceilings highlights the fact the ceilings are so low. And this kind of house, to me, because the ceilings are low, it's never going to have big open spaces. It's not that kind of house.
Yeah, well, there's the light thing, and also the size of the rooms, though, are just so... You literally get a sofa and a TV in what's currently the kitchen.
You're likely to have a family living here. And whilst open plan living works, it only works with lots of children if you have other rooms that you can get away into.
Mark and Tammy should be aiming this property squarely at large families, where often more rooms are better, and that goes for upstairs too. They want to convert the attic into a bedroom and study, and then lose one of the bedrooms on the first floor to create a large master suite. But I think they're shortchanging themselves with this 5-bedroom, 2-bathroom layout.
I think that you can fit 6 bedrooms in this house and 3 bathrooms without compromising the room sizes much, and that way it's going to be worth more money and it's going to be a better layout of space. And it's a kind of higgledy-piggledy family house, and the sort of people that are going to buy this are likely to have a few children, and 6 bedrooms is better than 5.
To achieve this 6-bedroom, 3-bathroom layout, all they need to do is split the larger of these 2 rooms on the first floor. Then add a smaller bathroom and turn the attic into a stunning master suite right at the top of the house.
Well, I mean, I would agree with that,
Yeah.
because it then gives you the space and the,
Yeah,
and the
and then it's a
privacy,
wow
doesn't it?
factor as well, isn't it? Because you carry on going, everyone else sort of stops on this floor and you carry on going.
I would go with that and have lots of rooms and make it perfect for a family with lots of kids.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
This house could be a really unique family home, but it won't be cheap to do. It's Mark and Tammy's first ever renovation, and they don't have a clue about the costs involved.
How much is it going to cost, you reckon?
Well, the budget that we put together before we understood the proper planning rules was 80,000, and I really want to keep to the 80 as much as I can.
Looking at this, I would say it's a £120,000 job.
Funnily enough, everyone else has seen it said that too.
I think Mark and Tammy are setting themselves a near-on impossible task. They bought the house for £205,000, have a budget of £80,000, and are hoping to sell for £375,000 to clear a £90,000 gross profit, which I think is a little ambitious. And that's surprising, as Mark and Tammy aren't entirely new to property developing, as although they've never done a renovation before, they've actually made a whopping £400,000 from new build developments over the last 3 years. So this seems like a big risk as their next development.
What I'm intrigued about is, why did you decide to stop doing new builds and renovate this listed house?
We thought, well, if we try to go into a renovation, we can turn the properties over a lot quicker, and in theory, over the same timeline, we should potentially be making the same money. If we're doing everything right, we're turning the property over every 4 or 5 months, hopefully, and in theory, the stress should be less, in theory, and the gain should be about the same.
I think it's pretty optimistic to think that you can turn around properties so easily, find them and do them and sell them. You've got a lot of anomalies in there. So how do you guys feel at the moment?
Scared, nervous. We know, we've got a big job on, and a lot of things have to go in our favour to make it happen in the time frame and budget, etc.
Hey, get out while the going's good.
Do you want to buy it?
No thanks, I wouldn't touch it with bicycle.
Joking aside, although the property has potential, Mark and Tammy couldn't have got it more wrong if they think this renovation will be easier than a new build. Their builders may have started stripping out, but they're not going to be able to do any major work until the plans are approved, which will take 6 weeks. The problem is Mark and Tammy can't even submit the plans until they agree on what it is they're asking for, and that means reaching a decision about knocking through the living room.
But you don't think walking into this room is just going to feel really small?
But I think, it's like Sarah said, it's part of the character. You're buying a cottage, you're not buying a huge modern, duplex apartment or something like that, are you?
I still think it's too small and too dark.
There's a danger that they simply haven't done the right preparation to make a success of this development. 150 miles away in Dunstable, business partners Nick Holmes and Dave Hearn are also taking a massive gamble. Only this time we're not talking about one listed property, but an entire terrace of 6 period houses they're hoping to sell on for over £1 million. A huge development. Each house has to be separately renovated, and while the sheer scale of this development would put off many people, Dave's given up his job as an industrial designer to do the project management, and Nick's taking time out from his flooring company to do the paperwork. But they do seem to have done their homework.
We knew that the building was listed when we bought it, and we also recognised that a lot of the features that are here we were going to restore using traditional techniques.
You can't just steam ahead and do what you would normally do in a normal construction site.
But this is still a high-risk development, because while the whole terrace is large, the individual houses are so small it won't be easy to make them appealing. What's more, Nick and Dave have borrowed over £500,000 to fund the development. Their plan is to get one house finished and turned into a show home within 3 months, because they have to sell the other 5 off plan, or they'll be crippled by the £1,000 a week their huge loan is costing.
You know, this can make or break us, really. It's that crucial to us that we get a good job done, isn't it?
You know, we've never even considered failing. Failing is not an option.
No.
Dave and Nick bought the property for £554,000. They've got £285,000 including costs to renovate the whole terrace, and they're hoping they'll get £1,020,000 from selling all 6, making a gross profit of £181,000. It's a truly colossal project to take on. If they get it wrong on one house, they're potentially getting it wrong on all 6. In Harloxton, Mark and Tammy's rather less than thorough research means they could have a serious problem with their giant old oven. If the listings officer wants them to keep it, I honestly believe they could be kissing goodbye to any profit at all. Mark and Tammy Howard are hoping to make £90,000 in just 4 months out of this listed Victorian bakehouse in Harloxton. But if the Conservation Department want them to keep the huge old industrial oven that takes up this entire room at the back of the property, they could actually lose money. And even though their best chance of getting rid of the oven is to keep their other alterations down to a minimum, Tammy's digging in about knocking through the living room, and I don't think she's helping their cause.
So you're 3 weeks in, and you've got to make a decision about how your listed building application is going to go in and whether you're going to try and get this wall taken down or not.
I say we leave it up, Tan says we take it down.
Why do you feel it's so important to take the wall down?
Well, the room behind this wall is very small, pokey, dark, and I suppose I sort of had a vision of opening up the house, making it more light.
I think the point is it's a listed house and that's a structural wall, and that's 2 reasons why the wall shouldn't come down anyway. You're much better off with a listed house trying to work with what you've got as much as possible.
No, I'm quite relaxed about leaving it as it is. Every time Tam comes back, she goes, that bloody room.
I don't like small, dark rooms, so, you know, that's just my feeling on it.
I think we just go with it.
Well, I'll go with you two, and we'll wait and see at the end. So, yeah, it's going to be good for the budget, and...
I don't think so. Someone's not going to buy the house because of that room.
we hope.
With a decision made, they can now focus on saving this development from disaster and getting their plans passed for removing the oven. With the conservation officer on his way, it's D-Day for this development.
One of the things that we'd like to do is to remove this oven and try and open up the entire kitchen.
It would be a shame if we lost everything which related to the bakery element of it, though. One of the ideas that we might have might be to use this whole frontage somewhere within your revised scheme. I'm not too concerned about what happens behind. I don't think that's of particular significance.
So if we moved it from here and used it, you know, in a wall somewhere, you'd be happy with that? It doesn't have to stay there?
I think we'll have to devise somewhere to put it, which is convenient for you.
That's great.
Yeah, that is brilliant news. That is a big weight off our shoulders, I tell you.
This certainly is good news. But the reality is a whole month's gone by and Mark and Tammy are only now sending off their application and can do very little on site until they receive formal listed building consent, which isn't guaranteed. That means a further 6 weeks of frustrating inactivity. Mark's plan for a stress-free 4-month turnaround is looking less and less likely. In Dunstable, Dave and Nick's preparation is paying off. They've taken on this entire terrace of 6 separate properties. And with planning permission in place, it looks as if things are going great guns. That's just as well as they've got ambitious plans to smash the local ceiling price and sell each property for £170,000 by adding a 2-storey extension on the back of each one.
So 5 weeks in, you're doing really well. It's really shifting, isn't it?
We think so. We're
yeah. So all footings done, all the groundwork's done. Fantastic.
all the drainage is in.
So is it going as well as you expected, or not?
Better, I think. I think we're about 2 weeks, so we're ahead of schedule.
It may be going well, but these properties are so small that it's the layout that will make or break the development. Each of the houses has just 1 bedroom upstairs and a lounge leading to a small kitchen and even smaller bathroom downstairs. By adding the extension, Dave and Nick want to create a 2nd bedroom come study on the ground floor, but also plan to sacrifice the bathroom down here for a WC to make way for a bigger kitchen. And while they are planning to add a bathroom in the extension upstairs, anyone staying downstairs will have to walk through the master bedroom to use the only bathroom in the house.
So this is going to be the kitchen in here, yeah?
Yep. So the cloakroom is going in this corner.
Okay.
If I mark it.
Why don't you make this? If you put, is there any reason why you can't pull this out to here and make it kind of there and there, and then you'd have, if you had it along here, you'd have enough room to make that into wet room, so you'd have a downstairs shower room come downstairs loo, which would mean that 2nd bedroom would then be able to use this as a shower room.
What do you see as a wet room? Is that
wet
you
room.
think that's a fully tiled room?
Yeah, which
with a shower on the wall.
Yeah, it means that you don't have to have the shower tray. That's all I see it as.
We thought that the 2nd bedroom study would be primarily a study or a work from home environment, and in those circumstances, provided we've got the downstairs toilet and sink, use your guests or your friends that are staying over using your shower room, your ensuite. It wouldn't actually present that greater problem.
But I think to get the best price for this development, Dave and Nick should forget the study idea and market each house with a 2nd bedroom complete with a wet room.
One of the problems you've got is your resale that you're looking at is 170 a house, and having looked around the area, for a 2-bedroom house around here, you can get a quite nice one for 150. So you are looking at getting quite a lot more.
If we were only selling at 150, then we'd be very upset.
How upset?
I'll be really upset.
I think it would be a really good idea for you at this stage to A, go and talk to some agents, and B, go and look at some wet rooms.
Yeah. I'm not convinced that if we went to an agent and said we're going to put a wet room in, that actually have the first idea what we're really talking about. I think
so you've been breaking the trend round here, which is no bad thing, is it?
No.
But ultimately, with all ideas, you should always test it out for yourself. And that's what I've suggested Dave should do.
Do you know what a wet room is?
No.
Yeah. So, you know what a wet room is?
I don't know, I haven't got a clue.
You don't think it'd be just a London style apartment that would have something like a wet room?
Yeah, I think it might be a good selling point for a house.
Okay.
It's a new moving forward sort of idea, isn't it? Definitely.
It is, yeah.
No, I reckon it's a pretty cool idea.
Okay.
It's everything in one, isn't it?
I think Dunstable's ready.
Definite winner with the people we've spoken to. Good feedback. Definitely going to do it.
I think this is a real breakthrough for Dave and Nick. And being the first to break the mould in Dunstable might get them the extra £20,000 per property they're so desperate for. Never ones to hang around, just a week later the wet room is already taking shape. And the extensions are not far behind because with such huge mortgage repayments they can't afford not to get this development done on time. In Harloxton, Mark and Tammy are 9 weeks in, and it's a nail-biting time, as they're about to find out if they've got their plans approved by the local council.
Yes!
What, for everything?
First of all, it's granted, so that is really good. Fantastic, we've got everything. That is good news. Excellent.
With all their plans approved, the hard graft can finally begin on the development. But Mark's only ever done new build before and isn't really prepared for the extra work that goes into a listed development. The Conservation Department want them to reuse the original bricks from the oven housing to build the new dining area extension. Painstakingly cleaning up over 5,000 bricks one by one ends up adding another 2 weeks to a schedule that's already looking dangerously out of control.
The new build, there's a plan, and you can work pretty much to the plan, and there's not going to be any major surprises. The renovation, every time we come, there's another surprise, there's another problem to get round. We're running out of time, and it looks like we're going to go over budget. It's no longer fun, it's a real worry.
To add to Mark's problems, he's finding it increasingly difficult to run his financial services business and the site at the same time. More often than not, Tammy stays at home. And even when Mark does manage a flying visit to the property, he finds it difficult to get off the phone.
Right, 10 minutes then, you're going to call me back, yeah? In 10 minutes.
A good project manager keeps the development moving forward and also maintains control of the costs, but this budget is starting to slip. They're already dangerously close to spending the £50,400 they've allowed for labour and materials, and there's absolutely no leeway in the rest of the budget. There's a mere £5,300 for the kitchen and bathrooms, £5,400 for all the electrics and plumbing, and £4,100 for the decoration. There's £6,800 for the garden, and with fees of £8,000, their total budget is £80,000. If Mark and Tammy want to keep their costs to anything like a profitable level, they're going to have to be very careful how they fit out the property, and I'm worried about their lack of experience when it comes to careful budgeting for interior design.
Hi, hello, how are you?
Hi,
Hello.
Hi.
Gosh, what a glamorous house this is.
This is their last development, where they've been living while they wait for a sale. And while Tammy's interiors make for luxury living, they need to start thinking differently on their current development.
You're not going to be able to spend anywhere near the amount you spend here on Harloxton, are you?
That's the big dilemma.
Yeah.
And the kitchen obviously is always a sales point, which is we're having a big debate about the cost of the kitchen at the moment.
What did this kitchen cost you?
This, with the utility room, was about 9,000.
So you spent 9 on this, and you've got a £3,000 budget for Harloxton.
I think it should be more. I think we should be spending about between 6,000 and 7,000. I mean, it's, you know, a room that needs wow factor because it's the room that you come into from the front door.
I'm convinced we can get a kitchen for £3,000.
And I've told him that I really don't believe he can.
I personally think you need to meet in the middle. It is a very important room, the kitchen. In a house that big, you have to have a really good quality kitchen, and it's got to look expensive. So I think that there is a compromise somewhere between those two figures. That's the right amount to spend on that house, in that kitchen.
We've got to find the middle ground here, but I believe I've seen kitchens that will do the job for less than £3,000, and that's what we've got to work towards.
Okay, well, if you can prove to me that the £3,000 kitchen will work, then we'll compromise. But I don't think it's going to.
And you're going to have to make a decision on this. So I suggest the best thing to do, Mark, is if you go and show Tammy the kitchen that you would like to put in, and see if she is happy to compromise.
Okay, that's a bit of a challenge, but we'll go and do that.
Okay.
It's all about spending the right money in the right places. The question is, will Tammy go for Mark's ultra-cheap kitchen?
This is the type of thing I think we can get away with.
You're kidding, right? I'll say I did the rest of the house and you did the kitchen.
This kitchen gets a kitchen in and it reduces the costs, and I think it'll do the job.
Well, I wouldn't want to put my name to that kitchen. Touch it.
What do you mean touch it?
Touch it. I don't know.
Yeah, but you're not going to have to live with it, are you?
I mean, the first thing people see when they walk in the front door is the kitchen. It has to have wow factor.
Well, we can't spend £7,000.
No, I understand that. You can't spend £7,000. That's fine. But I think that, you know, we can go out there and try and get something for maybe 5 or 6.
And you think there's going to be that much of a difference, do you?
I believe there will be, yes. And I think you'll be surprised.
All right. Okay? Yeah, not really, but...
Yay. I won, and off we go.
Mark and Tammy Howard were hoping to turn their listed Victorian bakehouse around in a stress-free 4 months. But they're already 3 months in, over budget and nowhere near finished. The problem is Mark simply doesn't have the time to run his own business and properly project manage the development. I wonder how stress-free he's feeling now.
Can't you tell the lines on my face and the grey bits? The last couple of weeks have been extremely stressful, trying to keep all the balls in the air at the same time. Trying to rely on other people to deliver their end has been immensely frustrating. And we're still not out of the woods yet. It can still go all completely wrong. I know that, mate. That's what you found.
To make matters worse, there are conservation issues they've overlooked. On top of the requirement to clean up and reuse the thousands of original bricks in the dining area extension, they need a damp-proof course downstairs. But they must preserve all the old flagstones, which involves numbering each one and laying them back down in exactly the same order. It's a huge amount of work, but I can't help thinking this project should be progressing quicker than it is. Four months in, when the project is meant to be finished, they're miles off. Oh, I can't believe you finally got that extension up.
Yeah. Actually, when they started, it went up really quickly. It was just all the faffing about initially.
A bit before.
It makes a big difference in it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It really opens the thing up.
What a great kitchen breakfast room.
It will be
That's
good.
going to really make it. And your bread oven.
They really...
See, I have to say, I would be tempted to make a hole there and make a little box behind so that you can use it.
Yeah, something else we've still got to think of getting done. So it's not that I don't like the idea. It's just adding something else to the list of things.
Yeah. Are you slightly reaching the end of your tether with this development now? And do you just
I
want
absolutely
to
cannot wait to flip and get this place sold and out of here, I've got to tell you. In my head, it was only going to take 4 months. Unfortunately, now it's way past the 4-month stage. I'm starting to lose a bit of interest in it.
Building sites do have a tendency to do this. They get to about halfway through and then the heels start to drag, and I know that this is going to be really difficult for you to do, but that's to get down here every day for a few weeks. But that's easier said than done if you've got a full-time job.
Yeah.
Well, I could come down every day for a few weeks, but I don't know how that's going to make any difference.
I think if you're here and you're working on site, it just tends to push things along. If you're coming down and you're cleaning up and you're really...
Okay, that's not going to happen.
Okay. Not that kind of coming down.
No, sorry. No, you don't think that we have stress enough in our daily lives? We have to come down every day.
No, that's why I said I think it might...
Yeah, so Tammy's idea of managing is a float-through, a quick, serene visit.
Excuse me, I do all the paperwork for this, so don't even go there, OK? You have to ask me how much the budget is every day, so don't even go there. No.
That's not your thing.
No, that's not my thing.
No, I think I can understand that. You've got other stuff on, but I'm just saying that is one way that you can get it to move forward, is by actually being here.
Good project management is absolutely crucial. And while Tammy is clearly horrified by the idea of working on site, someone is going to have to take control of this development if it isn't going to drag on for many more months. It takes a couple of weeks, but eventually Tammy realises how important it is for her to take over.
Because we're overdue schedule-wise, and obviously it's now sort of hitting where we're worried about the budget and eating into our profit every week now. I've taken over the man management, so this is the best compromise. I'm there 3 days a week. I spend as much time as I need to on those days. If I need to come in, 4 or 5 days a week, if I need to be there every day for something, I'll make time to be there.
The question is, does Tammy have the project management skills to really get this site moving?
What do you think your task will be for this week, then? To do by Friday. Right, how far do you think you'll get done with that? Give me some definitives.
Okay.
So what are you on this week?
Keeping Pete and Nick going.
Well, Pete said he'll hopefully finish that today, so let's push him to do that. Okay?
No problem. Thank you.
Why is that window not in? Please make sure he gets this wall done by today, because otherwise he's going to be off the job, okay?
Right.
Seriously.
It turns out Tammy's quite capable of taking full control.
They have to know I mean business. I can't come in all flowers and nice and then they, bring them cookies and they think it's going to be a laugh. They got to know that I mean what I say, and I have to do it. Mark's not here to do it. I have to do it. We need to get this done. He's working in his other business, and this is my job now. So
it's very late in the day, but it's great to see things are really starting to move now this project is finally being managed well. In contrast, the schedule in Dunstable is starting to slip.
We've stood still practically on this particular house for the last 3 weeks because we've been waiting for a lintel to turn up. Without the lintel, we can't put the gable on the wall. Without the gable in the wall, we can't finish the roof. I very much want to get this unit done. I want it finished. I want it as a show house.
Nick and Dave are paying £1,000 a week in interest to finance the development, so it's crucial they get the show home up and running as soon as possible so they can recoup some cash by selling the other properties off plan. But the lintel is not the only problem. They don't feel confident enough to design the show home themselves, and they're getting increasingly worried about how it will look.
It's very important to us that the show house is 120% correct. The attention to design detail has to be perfect.
With their limited space, this is going to be a real challenge. And what Dave and Nick need is a crash course in show home design. And there are definite do's and don'ts, so I'm taking them to a show house for these apartments nearby that are also aimed squarely at the young professional market. Decor-wise, I'd never advise going this bold, but the living area, second bedroom and kitchen have almost identical dimensions to Nick and Dave's, and I think there are some good layout lessons to be learned here.
This is clearly quite wild and wacky in here. But I think there are things that are really worth taking away from this show house, and that's that they've defined the areas of eating and sitting quite clearly.
I think the nice thing about this room, it does actually reflect what we could do in our almshouses.
This is their smaller second bedroom. You could fit a 4-foot wide bed in here, and if I was buying this flat, I'd be able to think, oh well, I could have my mum and dad to stay.
But we also thought that we should be putting a study desk and chair.
I think if you can fit a study desk and a chair and a 4-foot bed, then that's the optimum. I mean, I think this kitchen is an example of a little tad of overdressing.
What do you think of these worktops, Sarah?
This high shine on a laminate worktop has a tendency to scratch, it just doesn't last.
We have a really big problem speccing any of the worktops. We're looking at around about £1,000 a kitchen to put granite worktops in our kitchens.
I think you could reduce that by a good £500, £600, £700. Oak block worktop is going to be, we're going to be saving in the 6 flats.
That's right.
The 6 houses. So if you save £500, that's £3 grand. There is one other major point, and that's that you are meant to have finished the show house by now, and you're not. Are you? How far off are you?
We're about 4 weeks behind where we really wanted to be.
Are you definitely going to have that show house finished in 4 weeks?
4 weeks, we'll definitely have it finished. Definite.
In Harloxton, the development might be 6 weeks over its 4-month deadline, but with Tammy firmly in charge, great strides have been made and the renovation is in its final stages.
I think the mistake that we made early on was that we weren't spending enough time on site. I think that is fair to say. And since Tammy's been coming down here every day, it has just transformed itself.
I'm a bit nervous every time I arrive. They've done the job and I'm really impressed with them. They've really pulled it together.
Both Tammy and Mark and Nick and Dave have risked a huge amount by taking on difficult listed developments. And they're just weeks away from knowing if the gamble has paid off. Dave Hearn and Nick Holmes in Dunstable and Mark and Tammy Howard in Harloxton are both at the end of hugely risky developments. 6 months ago, when Mark and Tammy fell in love with this Victorian bakehouse in Harloxton, they knew next to nothing about listed buildings and had little idea of the difficulties they could entail, which makes the transformation even more remarkable. Mark overruled Tammy to keep the living room separate from the room next door, which now means there is a private study. As they also have a separate dining room, it means there are quite enough reception rooms downstairs to keep even a large family happy. Taking out the large baker's oven means there's also a fantastic kitchen diner to congregate in. This time Tammy won through. With her choice of kitchen, both the spec and the simple traditional style is perfect.
Hi, how are you? Wow, what a transformation. And when you think that massive industrial bread oven was in this space, it was really worth taking out.
It was, yeah.
So what did you end up doing inside the original ovens?
We just put little sort of cubby holes in so people can put candles, spices.
I've got to say, I'm glad you did something with them, but I do think that it could have been a bit more inspiring. Getting the layout right for this house was always crucial, but they ended up with a good balance of 6 bedrooms to 3 bathrooms. This house can now be classed as a luxury family home, which will do nothing but improve their resale figure. And the neutral decor makes each room feel light and spacious, as well as giving the potential buyers a blank canvas to work with. Transforming the attic into a private master bedroom and ensuite has made the most of the space up here and will certainly add to the appeal, but quality like this doesn't come cheap. Now, you were hoping to spend £80,000 on this development. How much did you end up spending?
124.
124.
I was gutted. I was really determined to come in on budget to prove you wrong, but unfortunately...
Sorry.
Yeah, it didn't work.
God, how annoying for you.
Yeah, it was.
Can you imagine what it's like being married to me? I think it's still a great achievement to bring this project in at just over £120,000, but a rather over-optimistic initial budget means they overspent in just about every area. Labour and materials rose from £50,400 to £82,600. The kitchen and bathrooms from £5,300 to £10,300. The electrics and plumbing from £5,400 to £5,600, and the decorating from £4,100 to £8,000. Mark and Tammy did cut back their spending to £2,000 on the garden, but with their fees, including mortgage payments, rising to £15,500, their total spend is £124,000. Now, you were originally hoping to sell the house for $375,000, weren't you?
Yeah.
What do you think it would be worth now?
Over 400, but how much over, I don't know.
Well, there's only one way to find out.
The new extension on the back really blends in very well.
Great feature ovens. Master bedroom suites. I like the way it's elevated from the rest of the house.
I would value this property at £415,000.
I would value this house at £415,000.
I would value this property at £425,000.
We have had 3 agents round the property, and they have given valuations of £415,000, £415,000 and £425,000.
Excellent.
That is very good.
That's worthwhile.
Because that's massively over what you were expecting. If Mark and Tammy sell for the average of the 3 valuations at £418,000, they'll make an amazing £89,000 gross profit. All they need now is to find someone willing to buy the property.
Straight into the kitchen. Great for parties.
Mm-hmm.
You cook in there, we in here.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's a nice garden, Ian.
Yeah, good size,
Decent
manageable.
size. I love this. You can lie in the bath and watch the stars. I think the house is great, and I think it's got a lot of character for a period home, and I'd be seriously thinking of putting an offer in.
I think this is a really big success story in terms of development, and if you carried on like this, you'd be millionaires.
That'd be nice.
Do you think we'd survive, though, if we carried on doing like this?
No.
Really? So you couldn't do 2 of these a year and stay alive?
Yeah, well, we could, couldn't
It may not have been the stress-free experience they thought it would be, but Mark and Tammy have ended up creating a truly beautiful family home. In Dunstable, Dave and Nick are a month behind schedule with their terrace of 6 houses. They still have 5 properties to complete, but the all-important show home is up and running and is spot on for their target market of young professionals. They've really taken on board our conversation about what makes a successful show house, and downstairs have cleverly made this small room feel much bigger, with well-defined living and dining areas. The kitchen is small but beautifully formed, and it was the right decision to go for the oak block worktops, which are both affordable and stylish. And I'm thrilled that they finally went with a wet room idea. It has a great contemporary feel and should be a real selling point. Although in the ground floor extension, cramming in a desk makes it feel more of a study than a real second bedroom. Overall, though, this is contemporary design out of the top drawer and is exactly what the market needs. But the question is, how much did it all end up costing?
The overspend is around £6,500, of which £2,500 is putting the wet room in. I think the wet room is a brilliant idea. I think the wet room definitely makes these houses more saleable.
But have they done enough to break through the ceiling price and reach the £170,000 target they were hoping for?
Because you can see everything in place with the dining area and the sofa, it works really well.
Really good quality kitchen with the solid oak worktops.
And it's a fantastic use of the space. Brilliant idea.
You've also got the downstairs wet room. If someone else is coming home, wants a quick shower, that's ideal.
I would value this property at £180,000.
I would value this property at £180,000.
I would value this property at £180,000.
Excellent. Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're well pleased with that.
Dave and Nick bought the entire terrace for £554,000. They should end up spending £324,000 on the whole development and bring in £1,080,000 from selling the 6 houses, which would give them a giant £202,000 profit.
We're pleased. We're very pleased. When we've sold one, we're going to be even happy.
4 weeks later, they get a fantastic result. Thanks to the show home, they sell 2 of the other properties off plan, for the asking price of £180,000. And even better, in Harloxton, Mark and Tammy have just sold their property for a massive £428,000, clearing an unexpected £99,000 profit. Another huge return on another magnificent development. The British public have an insatiable demand for well-modernised period homes. Though as developments, they'll never give you an easy ride. If you're prepared to take on a difficult project, though, there's still good money to be made from property development. Next week, I'm going back to Manchester to see whether 3 years on, Cyan Astley is still making the same mistakes.
Re-roof? Really? Nah.